Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon. Um, you can see, I'll call you. Welcome to the afternoon session of Impact Room. Impact Room is something we are sort of experimenting this year. This is this is a session where we run in addition to the conference sessions. So this is on the side of the conference. So those who are here are not necessarily the registered participants. We are just invite a group of people who are relevant to a topic area, and also the speakers are experts who come just to have a conversation with the audience. So it's very relaxed setup where we have a conversation on important topic area. So we got a couple of sessions. So in the morning we had 2 sessions. Now this afternoon we're gonna run 2 sessions back to back. We're gonna start with the broader topic is tourism, land equity, reconciling economic growth with social justice. So we got the speakers. I'm just jumping in. Sort of we had last minute changes of speakers, and we got Shan. Yes, I got Shan from Senior Legal Officer, Ministry of. Sorry. Shan is Planning Consultant, Ministry of Construction, Housing and Infrastructure. Actually, we had some of your colleagues this morning. Told yes. All right, so we will hand it over to you. Just it's sort of share your idea, experience, project, or research initiative, and it's up to you. Thank you.
And who's Steve Domita? Are there any international participants? Eh? If it's international, they play ball. Okay, Arne. No, I will obviously use my English words as though. So, Arne, very interesting topic tourism, land and equity. Though, then argument is planners some of our boda advocate kura කන්තත්තහුගේ වාහක දක්කාන පුරුසත වෙස බලිබේ කරනගේ මිකාල් ටොපිකක වාහක දක්කanya. So අනේ බය discussion points තකෙන් අලුගන් මන සූරි ෂෙයා කොල්ලා මිකොළු එකතුන් හම we will try හුරිහා topic එක වෙස් කොමසරක discuss කොල්ලවේ તો then අනේ පාෂාලම් වේ කරනගේ මේ tourism ගේ contribution to GDP ya impact on local communities though that's something we wanted to discuss අනේ land rights then as a planner what I've noticed is as the වර ගින වාහකතන් එබොහරි දක්කන් එකම් දැන් අනේ තංකොල කුරුකොම්මි ගඩිය ෆිට් කුරුම්ගේ ගොතුම් අනේ කියාලාන අනේ tourism බකේ හමාර්ගන් මේගේ GDP යන් එම්මෙ පොඩ contribute කුරා as sector but අනේ අල්ගන් මෙන්න මේ tourism develop වමු මේ අන්නනි වර fast pace එක මනේ media years තකුගා එහෙම අල්ගන් වර concern වාකමෙ කොබාතෝයේ මේගේ limit එකි මිසාලක එටෝල්ගේ level එක tourism develop kuram ves suriha rattake tourism man allocate koffade mi har faluta ves sama maletol ga waragina faluta ves mihiri hama tourist unna devifa I mean ane tourism development devifa then mi gottam mi decisions ta naga allocate kurairu asu consultation process and when inde ane mi hundirule radashuga land use plan hadaru algon men ebache ane public participation ves ane ege terega himanang eka mikala මුලි ගවමන් ඉම්පෙක්ට් කුරා කහල කන්තත කුරායරු කියාවරකත්තෝයේ අනේ ස්ටේක් හෝල්ඩර්ස් අදී අනේ කොමියුනිටි ඉන්වෝල්ව් වනේ දැන් මීගෙන් අසුවර බෑවරු ඉම්පෙක්ට්ස් තක වෙස් කොමියුනිටි තකන් එප කුරේ එයි හුරිහාය මෙනකි හැමේකනි මිසෙක්ටර් අනේ මේ ඩිපෙන්ඩ් වෙෆෝන්න බය වෙස් නෝ හැම මිස් මීහුන් අනේ සල්ක මස්වරි කම ඩිපෙන්ඩ් වා ෆලුතක අන් ෆරුතක ස්නෝක්ලින් ඩයිවිං අදී මිකල් කන්තත වෙස් අමිල්ල ෆරත්තකුම් වෙස් කුරේ marine resources depend wegen hama waragina economic activities take danduwerikan kala kantattaka beenu kura ratta hama tourism development beenu kurang allocate kura hisabun hama waragina mihunna fennan neta sege impact an eba kure eya solgonu a kolam beenu wa ekkanta so aiman nechke buna lam beenu topika
ane warnalu ahake ane shanatu dalu But first, before I go into that, though, I want to ask, how many of you know land use plan na kiko baka? Do you guys know land use plan? Like, what is a land use plan? Use plan. Yeah, you're right. How about you guys from high school? Did you ever hear land use plan? Then okay, and why do you think it's important land use plan and auto balance power? Okay, so as Shan mentioned, it's very important. Land use plan is very important, and balance power got the tourism sustainable got the Korea is super important. And how about we have tourism development under radda me rajya almost huriha tholega huriha tane we are giving away the tourism. Do you think and rangalu coming huriha tane tourism do kolli making and negative impact ki ko me har okay short term impact ki financial gain though where a bavru me hun gina radra gina resorts or people would think oh that's a very good thing but in the long run, I think if you think about the environmental consequences such as a Visnafia, there are some negative impacts which would come with mass tourism. So those are some things we have to think about. Tourism development because we have to do it sustainable. If you look at countries, developing countries like Thailand, they try to minimize it, especially islands. It's very, very fragile. So rather fragile we have to be very careful because the tourism develop kuramo anne iradanta. What do you think, Shan?
From my experience ane misal ka local islands ta hoga tourism ma war fahu 2007 9 hisab gota guest house tourism me introduce kuri da ekamuko miharu inna gotun there's no limit kiha bodeti tantanet to hedeni city hotel wes hadam vi local islands ta hoga ehvima warang ekala goti takuga misalaka mihun guest house ta develop koken uleru e community area wes e gem west buying impacts ta kure then e giturun me rattakuge plan hadaru tourism zone ta kayachi kandalaeru wara bodu sarahad den hama rashuke ane mihunna den huri ehen needs taka emme rangalan address nukurevi tourism abai faru ane bin zone kureve tan e bade then miha large scale ga misalaka ane local island ekka me activities tan ama ane rashuge rayitum beenun kongulunu thundiya echi emihunna accessible de waki sabakon emme riti beach addairu ane etanan hame kani devani waki guest house ege mihunna so mikahala kantattan as gen aslu wara gina radushka miharu ege impacts tan eba fene asako mal ya carry sarahat hoga evs be flen ekahala impact amile experience e noni fahage fenia share kollam beenun to
I have experienced, but it's as you said, beach areas and American tourists. So they were going in Nani Hadafis. I went to an island some time back when I was young, and it was like that. We were not allowed to go Edimala, but it was so beautiful though. It was beautiful, but we were not allowed to go.
do you think ane local island ge huri hatanaka access bevenje hene amila right etta e misalaka era shadda divasege haisiya
Good question. Um, I think it's okay for tourists to have their own space, but not
fence ko
Yeah. like it's taking over by a lot. Then no, there should be some balance somewhat.
yeah ane wara gina radashun observe kurave hama misalaka beach front un guest house ta difa huneru e dimaluge atirimati ane informally names de claim do pairadash ke befene fence jaha hama emi hunge ane guest chairs tan etaga bahatta their restaurants expand miwani ane mezu jaha so එහෙම හුණ කණු කරේ තන් use කුරා කෂත so මීති මිහෙන් expand වෙගෙන් අදි හාසකෝ මීහුන්ගේ ගේකේක guest house හෙදේ කාල්ගතක අල්ගොන් මගේ system මි ඔන්නනි ඔන්න ඉරු කොන් හිසාබකුන් හෙයේ මීති control කුරෙවැනි කොබා හෙයේ මිසල් කරාශයේ carrying capacity යකි මීති balance එක හිපාට
and my question is and mehara okay amilla gotitawko mehedeni guest houses edenya should we control it meharu policy en hadam muhimmu he amilla goti kan hedene ye guest house but at the same time we have to think meharu huddataka deefati bitanta guest house lata what would happen to those places so and audience what I want to ask is it a good plan amilla bintaku gam guest house hudda e huddoto meharu okay hulumalle inna bawr tantanu bing hikkaf mi du korani tab defalana du korima gena mihun hama guest house me hadan mihu dirulani enakam dirulen du kora bintam do ekha tanta guest house we fari profit make korum me komme me visnani ehme rarashom skena me meharu bim ben one not to stay there but to make a guest house and come live in hulumal so is it a fair thing so what do you guys think
ආරෙ මෙයද මේ අයවස් අසුගත tourism and equity land ඉනීම social equity ඉනීම I have huge concerns हम असुगस tourism expand වෙගෙන් මේ දායරුග රාජ්‍යයේ future generation රාජ්‍ය ෆින්නම් මිස්නොයදාන ඒ මෙබර ආරෙන්ගේ concern කි reserve land නැති බදලම මේ දායරුග ආර්මෙන්ගේ දරින් විහායරුග where is the motive say කොබාහේ ඒ රාජ්‍ය නෙන් හිසාබ social equity ගෙල්ලිගෙන් එබදේ mi waaka dakkan mi henne de mi discussion e wima hare mi ai whoever records this I would like it to be taken up to the authorities future generation raja kelligen da hisab ahanan eba pene mi har I am 60 years old but I can see that mihem dimama medani ebbes regulatory mechanism neti shanati dakka wahaka ekala banahen rasuge he elifa raitun nodi be wahaka ehem begen nuane local tourism man annane aguhe tourism ehim ka emi hona ka nonna na isolated tantane ovegennuwa e gavatta vetere baaru eligen hinganje hen kantata raitun level ga issue negijiya mun e huddade agency kon gavat badal koranje hen angam besje hen mi rajya ga rayitum dilure madu satya kono dihe en ha rasuge wahaka mi dakkan resort tourism benon megen anna aguhe tourism man anna mi ha ulinje heni e habitat ge orange hem ule mi hunge akhbagi mengala ehim mengal tak fetige eh numak mamanya emi hun hama daily tuana ga gems mi har komme atole ge srarang epol gos tibuna ka hada excursion hada ni ma faade men e har gabu den okurang hisab danje hena kamaka then into the discussion haren then contribute koramun genna ham arabbulu harenge kambulu me social equity gelligen daakan tourism ke teriyan harmen emmen gelligen gos these are not the motivations our parents brought us into yeah
thank you adi fahatum veskuja share kolla
oh I think me personally there would be included where like for commercial use and like housing areas like that but at the same time these commercial areas should not be like gated communities where no only like a specific group of people can go in I feel like the entire community should be able to like use the facilities in that area so but they have to know that these are the areas that the tourists will go to like these are the special areas that the tourists will go to but you can't restrict locals from going to that area like,
I agree mi kolumnes ane
I think Misaka tourist Rashaka travel Kuranya West they have to adhere to a certain standard like they have to follow the rules and they have to respect the local community if they're traveling to an island.
If I may, just to share some experiences that I've had. Me 3 years kuring peti USAID ge climate adaptation project. I was working in there, and one of the key things when we started exploring the economic sectors, the tourism, fisheries, agriculture, that's where we were working, was the mihunge voice. The community voice is not there in decision making. You very rightly said that. And we were working very closely with Baetolu, Goedu, Fuladu, and Pehendo, the bottom three islands. Naturally, it's a separate atoll, Horsburgh Atoll. It's popular among the tourists, and we wanted to bring out what the people wanted us to. Konkametto mihunna suga beenumwani, how can their voices be heard? Tindaraki vestapata tindra, Goeduaki vara bodu rashe, Goeduga vara riti kuliyen oe, but they can use the watershed area because the regulations were not there, and we were supporting them to make the regulations. Okay, then got the Fuladu. Fuladu is a big island with a nice beach, and me Rajyege emme high-end tourist resort ga Kotriya Vikka vara Fuladuga guest house ga me Kotriya Vikka, because that's the best beach in Maldives. Over years, me selected best beaches keterek. Ehme me ga wagoti kiyasuga me tapata tindrango adi Pehenduaki vara close knit community vara mikala me anengem bunanama religious community emune benu no tourism. So how are we going to do this? So we came up with this thing about community consultation. Aikiga, we tried to form this Hatakia organization, Horsburgh Atoll Tourism Alliance, where 3 communities members who offer a cooperative style work kura, so that their community inputs a decision making level lang annagota. Asuga, what you said was a top down ko mihar mihundani rajyega me laws hedipa. That consultation is not there. But even though you have top down laws and regulations coming in, the community has to have a power to object or to feed in their ideas. So asu rajyega lacking emmebudu ichikama, from what we observed was a community power to come and say, no, we don't want this. Asu demme mi dekkamu waakatawga sudakkaninu rataka gosa beach secluded area eke ratuga uleboduvi miha ratang ufamvi miha nge beach nu deve. This is something that should not happen. Then ane kaning issue ki tourism develop vi iruga guest house tourism open kolli iruga, everybody was seeing the main streamlined tourism that was there. Guestung as a Waki resort gatibefa. So Mikala Kudakuda Raruga fragmentation taking I Komerega Minani Waki resort. Misalaka Balda Wavatur Tinadu. Half of the island is a separate resort by itself. Then 56 people they are living. Yeah. So these are the things probably that we have to really understand. I think the key thing here, what I wanted to point out is that the community the push to say, no, we don't want this. This is what we want. This is how we are going to do this. And then the different types of tourism, probably you will be going deeper into that. When you go into a deep dive into tourism, there are so many types of tourism that we can look into. Nature-based tourism approaches Evahuri. Agro-tourism Evahuri. Like Kerala, for example. Kerala is India South India major tourism destination. Is an agro-based tourism industry is there, where people go and live with the farmers, stay in their houses, cook, eat a home-cooked meal, That approach is not there, Astuga. Then Aneka, just a funny thing to say before I give the mic is that Radha Midani goes to guest house Kote Dibeni. Bangladesh miho kakka punna fried rice kola liben. Doesn't have a taste and it's highly priced. Mika the Bavar Kandate community engaged what we were trying to do was Pehenduaki house based community vima emi food was we were going to distribute to these 2 islands. An experience where you have island hopping and things like that. So Unfortunately, the project is stalled with the new US administration, but it will go on. They are still working on that. And Hatha is formed, the community-based organization is there. So this is one thing that I wanted to mention.
Since you mentioned USAID and FEHENDU, though, and when I was working in tourism ministry, I went to USAID to baby FEHENDU workshop, and I think I met you at Anand. So during that workshop, and a community warang engaged with that. One of the biggest concerns raised by the community was, "Emu berumen nuveye and Mafushi style develop waka. They are more focused on protecting the environment, ecosystem protect korna. They don't want it all buildings are, but the hotels are. They want to maintain what they have currently." So you have a point. You have a very good point.
ඒකේ ඉතුරුන් I think මේ community මේ demand කුරා කන්තත්ත වර බොඩ බේණුවේ කන්නේගේ regulations के तेरेम වෙස් control කුරා මිසල්ක කියා height එකත්තෝ නුනිකිත bed ಗೆ තනෙත්තෝ අනේ local island එක හෙදේනි 300 beds के hotel ले මිසල්ක local island එක හෙදීම ඒ රෂුග හුරි එහෙන් හුරිහා අනේ beds වරේ බගිනවේ එම්මේ developer එකේ and මෙබුනේ ඒ මුලි තණුගේ හුරිහා controlling එලිබුනේ එකක. So these kinds of things as to ane local island එක then I think local islands ke waha mi dekkeni boda community yang emme bodan impact kurata mi fennani එක kanege then ane the other point me tourism ge ehen ane diverse options tadda hame ekani ekala beach me marine environment ka nune asolgon mena I worked on Addu and Formula last year hama land use plan work and ane tourism component wara bodang hama tourism project against work kuriru Addu has so much to offer us to me and mangroves taka Addu ge history world war ade war 2 gulung hori bavar kantataka adi Addu ge me kaayachisaki samaraj ge entandana warat tafat me chista sel kuran maseke kure vidane community mo engage koge komme hengosa poolen hada fena bodu hotel len hadage Addu ge beach ne tima ewahaka MMS dakkani hemekene tourism nu hingani ekam hingashe Adduga arne liben huri echis tavika e mihun attract kurwanda echis aslu community ya bodan engage wegen I think there's a lot of options to arne do karnege.
Thank you. Okay. Western Shabas talk. Just for discussion of alternative perspective, I agree with you. Then I'm sorry, I would mean Tankola Kuderu, Vivi Tassavar Leonido. Vivi Tassavar Leoni, Hamami, Rajitungado, Hagging, Mihunge, point of view, Balag and Leoni. Leoni Ringato, Gina Rashon, if you may have read that. Gina Rashon Hunani, Emma Bodokama Hunani Bandarohedo, then Badar Batijum, Emma Bodoraka, Varagina Rashogam, Kodovino, Naradamazavaki, Bisnay, Emvima. අවගොඩමෙන් එමිහුම් බේනුම් වාගොතකේ කබාත බලාගෙන් පොලිසි හදම් වෙජ්ජ පහරෙග්ග එම්මරගල ගොත කරනු එදාන ආරමෙන් එමිහුන්න එඩියුකේටර්ස් කොද්දෙන් එවිජහ කන්නේ කීනෙක්කම් ආම් එහෙමෙම කොමස් දන්න බේකස් තිබෙගෙන් සපෝට් එකීක කන්නේ ඉන්ෆ්ලුවෙන්ස් කරවෙන කාල ගොතක කන්නේ that's my view. Yeah. Could be එමිහුන්න එකීදෝ කල්ලීම what I think is may not possibly be what we expect.
I think what you want to
Ati not lagging community consultation has to be guided. Otherwise, this is a lost cause. I have seen a lot of community consultations going here. Guide no make a community consultation. Don't be being then I don't know guest house tourism and the man had meeting. Unfortunately, అది నిమ్మను కమై వెస్నేగే ekal brahe emme bada balade mon ekati Singapore ge naga me tourism mange mi hunge naga strength ki hawal katta me hona gani population vai mi ori ha san no bala mi hala har me mi kura ka me kura hama dare ori mi ha buri tan naga fa deni. Let's be very frank on this singeto then mi ma gata ki ting aharu ge mi council me annani ekom me council ki hama lari khala to ko gannoni howe council ta kanno me baagota ki algo midetane hade land use plan baki rashen no danwana plan hada megen dero ti rasuge boruma guras kolla ifara kurada हम एक गुण कैसे बदलने को ना है balmon de ero ti come sta con hodde di fotato le jaha mi mama going to mi come scoten e babe ehima civic education na guided community consultation is very important then mihara regulations ta review kurang e bacche he inge to e duniya ka housing before gam ta tere government kya gam ta Singapore ya Bangkok is going back hama reversing into their fragile tourism ecosystem geteria mi horia che balagen galatta review ko galgo mi detene mi ko formare la shek guest house hada she hori bani ne photo formare she bani hama resort hama polo resort inge to this is making money for few people inge to mi algo mi fihir ga mi den future generation bala menati hama husko lagen dani inge to mi den eva ka tan ko faun ge
I think Varne, I agree with you both aslo me consultation ga hama varabada algonmen hinga consultations kes me hum vara feasible no ideas dena misalaka vara recently was Russian nubune den algondes bunelana hama ane derashu ge deterega bridge me propose kurai rashu ga fasate ka me boni fasas me hum wes aslo hama noe and egiterenga de anirasha daturu kuran tibi kitam me hum kames nege so mikahala ideas aslu me hum suggest curious ei emme me propose kola ideas so as professionals we have to make them aware emi huna understand koddem vi ane algonmenna hama wahaka dakkan ina fahara me hum convince kotteve me adduge case kaves me gocha demand koggen hama me hum waragina wahaka dekki but goti miharu kanda alafiya mun adduge future generation naka ane goti dene bimenne so we were able to convince me huna that ane eheng alternative housing options da muhimmuka ekam ko ane what I have experienced is hama community consultations ta kuga participation is also very low especially younger generations aslu long term plans ta kemmi hadani 20 years ga ane ega wara boda young minds and ane me ku mustaqbal ga ulen tibi mi hum beenuvani kon kantatta to address kurang asu their participation is also very important so
be very short. No, I agree with you, Adil. No, the thing is, it's about participatory appraisals, the way we do it. Participatory rural appraisal, Indians call it that, Sri Lankans call it that, Nepalese call it that. We don't do that. When you go, hand holding should be there and so on and so forth. One of the things I wanted to come back is about equity, Astuga. One of the things that we found out as when we evolved around this, Hata, a community group, Hediruga, Astuga, income get area one tourism dollars, no tourism money, how is it distributed among the people? So, I would like your insights on that. One thing is Sarukarun Kuring Hada for biosphere is a Baatolge, where the resorts put in money and the fund is created, people benefit from that somehow, but the mechanisms are a bit diluted from Haroti. These are the kind of things that we have to understand. As a community, frustrate with because I have traveled to all the islands where people live in the Maldives. There is one thing. Communities tibani frustrated with me hunna mihim ve tivanna kam hinno abatu se kahada kammega de kala e mindset ga anna miha ka constructive thinking and idea was nudeve asugina parade mihum participate wakas benwen because aharmenge culture ga neti kannenge mihunna mashwara kogen kankan kurang hagigatuga this is something that the younger generation should come up with asuga. Maybe because we were a monarch and the kings do whatever they want and the commoners follow, I mean, it takes time to change these things. But with the world changing, I think it's about discussions and you will know how the other person is living. Misalka case, this last week, Domfano case, I don't know what is happening. As to even the community doesn't know what they want. Whether they want to reclaim the land or not, they don't know. A level we have kankan gossel. This is something that we have to understand. As equity is something that I would like both of you to speak a little about how these resources are shared, how the income can be shared, and things like that. I want to get some ideas.
I think, Miharo, in terms of resources, if we were to share it, the most important thing and the most important place to start is sustainability, which sustain nuko kihining he et share korani is it's not gonna last future generations. So Miharo is since I worked reclamation kankan korumundia areas because I have seen a lot of things happen at Akariti with Rashuga Falutakasha, marine life, marine bio. Mihuriha it's a destroy tourism development which most of the island communities would not even notice. Those found they would notice, okay, mitang halau cafe mati mihem vegenne mihem vani. They tan modu takaicha chakavuma and reclaim koram fishing mika bavaru kankanga. So I think before we even go into that, the most important thing is to educate people, because it's not going to bring any change. If we are to bring any change on a community wise, so through education, I guess that is only possible.
අස්තුමියද ජොයින් කුරංගින් බොඩන් එයා ජවාබ් දෙවේ කහලා බේෆුලේ legal person unfortunately she's not and she had an emergency එහෙම and yeah, that's a very good point. I also agree with you, and I've also heard misalaka me beds taka mi dakkanje texa chips mi dakkanje ni mira she kihine he community benefit wani misalaka rashuka kiteme baraka tourism develop kuriya se it's a very good point aslo. Then algonda notice wa ituru kame how much time do we have? And miharu eba fene radashuge ihutisa sarahaddu. I don't know if the younger generation has heard and adu ifato ini ihutisa's jurisdiction miharu and komme Russian inerus e Russiake vashagen eba inde boundary me emihuna beenun kureve gota e sarahaddaki it's under their control. So radashuge plan hadairu and eba inde miharu furusat e me ihutisa's terege jurisdiction terege sarahaddues emihun beenun kurani kihinetto me plan ga include kurang. So mi gota mi regulations asa in iru mi baru council taka libuniru asluneng algonmenge terege ha strong regulations se kon extent takatto mitantam beenun kureveni. So we are seeing hama and mi boundary terega reclamation and reclaim kogen ituru islands hadang propose ko fahunnatang water bungalows alage mi and ekahala over water villas hada tourism ma mikala bavaru activities take bafene. Then me proposals the fennam feshima we are realizing okay miyan eba beenum ve commerce kala control. So miharu mi approval process tereng et commissaraka control kura masekke kure eba ekamaku ege kuring eba huri hudda devi faves waragina rattahuge itisos terega bavar development sakan and developers aves mitantang hama devi fahuri. So mivesasu miharu adi algonmena fennam fashafa netima eha boda negeni kannega, but these things have been happening though.
One final comment. Yeah, we will just
Just one final thing to equity ke wahaka asa social wahaka yaki ganna tive me asuga resort tanegi mundairo ka social consultation hienno ekotaka wasinne evves rashik evves atalakun resort kan hendana ka bimen educate koraro ni rashin educate ekamen nuhinga ehama warabul issue enge ehama atalta ugeta herego ratta me dani hama tundu wenge den anikama ki mihen hedi fahonna contracts ingeto hama aguma immenna ves neginum ves inge kamen me contracts extend koramon go sate kahara hisaba me ar demigen die gina tanta ඒක එවස් consultation එවස් රජිත කරන argumentus capital argumentus resources there are so many issues in resource and land development and equity issue එකෙත් මම දන්නවා
Just conclude.
I think we had a very meaningful discussion. Then arne as algondu as a planner bunalam benawani younger generation na kudeche me plans ta develop kura irugaya adi mikahala consultations takuga hama baverimu vara muhimme because it's your future. Then arne aslu we are not aware karnege kiya varakatto your voices matter do mikahala kantat takuga and hama arne you can contribute even though huriha riyal taka kamisal ka address nuko eki arne process toga hutas but algon me mi hada me land use planning work arne algon me hama warab benu with younger generations taku ke input as ehema as much as you can aslo a time deshe do yeah thank you
everyone.
I would like to invite Dr. Adil to hand over the certificate. Since Ayman jumped in the last minute, you please, Ashit. Yeah, once again, thank you for taking time and joining us. That was very insightful. Thank you very much.